And it goes a little something like
We're back! Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Guys, how are we all doing? It's been a hot minute. I feel like I say that on every single video on here, but moving on. I thought I would come back on and do the first video of me at the radio. Now, little life update. Life is crazy. Loads of things have happened and I'm definitely going to have to sit down and fill these all in. However, one thing that's changed is I am now in charge of running the book show on East End Community Radio. I started Amy's Book Nook in January and it's been going really well. I've had some amazing authors in, I've had book clubs in, I've had bookstores in, and yeah, it's been so fun and so exciting, and what better way to capture what's going on. So I thought tonight's episode would be a really good one to showcase some of the things that I do, and we're going to do this every week. We are going to do this every week. We are. Okay? And if you're not already, make sure you're following us along on social media at Amy's Book Nook on Instagram, Booked In with Amy on TikTok, and East End Community Radio on Facebook and TikTok as well, because that's where you get to see most things that we're up to. So tonight's episode I am going to do a come read with me. This is something that I just thought about earlier on today. I was like, oh my days, what am I going to do today? Next week's the end of the month and that's like a wrap up. Sometimes I've got authors in. Middle of the month's a bit of a tricky one. Start of the month is when you're talking about what you've just finished, you know, what's coming up next or what you're excited for coming up. So I was like, help. And I thought, why not do in the middle of a month, like, come read with me. So I read a section from a book that I've just finished, a book that I'm currently reading, and a book that I'm going to read next. So I'm obviously on for 2 hours. In that section there's going to be music and I'm going to pick some, well, the book that I'm reading just now, I'm actually not going to go backwards because one, it's on my Kindle, and two, like, that's just too much hassle, and obviously I want to read it, so I'm just going to read it on air. And also this is really cool because I've actually got the author of this book coming in next week, and that is Paula Johnson with The Groom Must Die. Now it's on Kindle, you can get it on Amazon as a copy, but it's on Kindle Unlimited as well, which is so good. And yeah, make sure you tune in for that show because it's going to be exciting. She's also from Glasgow, which is exciting. Anyways, so yeah, I'm going to read some of this, I'm going to read some of this. I'm just going to take sections of the book, like from the start, middle, end, chat about what I thought about the book a little bit, and from those sections, and then start, middle, and not the end in this because I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm just going to like read about what I'm thinking about while reading it and what my thoughts are going into it. So let's get the show on the road. We need to pop the tunes on, so I'm going to go and do that. While I'm doing that, you just go and grab yourself a cup of tea, and you have got, well, I mean it's going to be like 2 seconds, but yeah, grab yourself a cuppa and let's get into it. This is going to be for my what's it called, thumbnail. We're back. I hate me. Jokes. Okay, I'll see you soon.
Radio advertising
right,
by visiting
ready,
us online or getting in touch today.
Live. You're listening to Amy's Book Nook on East End Community Radio. Hello and welcome back to Amy's Book Nook. You are on East End Community Radio and I'm your host, Amy Newbould, and in tonight's episode we are going to do something a little different. Now, I actually did do this a few months back, and today while I was out in the sunshine reading my book, thinking about what am I going to talk about tonight on the show. You know, it's the middle of the month, we've already done the monthly wrap up from the month before, we've talked about some of the books I might read this month, well, we kind of left that up in the air. We've had some guests in, so I thought why not do a come read with me. So what we're going to do for this show is I've got 3 books, one that I've just finished reading, one that I'm currently reading and one that I'm going to read next, and I'm going to read some parts of these books and talk about what I think about them, you know, how I felt during reading the book that I've just finished, how I'm feeling about the book that I'm reading right now, and my thoughts on going into the book that I'm going to read next from reading that abstract. So I hope you enjoy. If you do want to get in contact with us, make sure you head over to our TikTok, east.n.community, replace the Y with a 5, and you can come on and see me with the headphones on chatting away, or you can go on to Booked In with Amy on TikTok as well. We're live over there, so come say hi, send in your requests, and go grab a cup of tea. And we've got a little bit of Justin Bieber. I thought it was very fitting since he was like the star of the show last night at the World Cup game. Sorry Messi, here is Justin Bieber with Anyone on East End Community Radio. So, we've just read a little section from Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Morelos, which was the book that I have just recently finished. And we've just been introduced to Frank and Cleo, read the first chapter, then they're on their honeymoon, they meet this other couple, finding out they're a bit odd. Now, this is where chapter 8 is where I started to get a bit like, I was so confused. I was like, who is this talking? Because it's not Cleo, it's not Frank, they don't speak, it's in third person. Like, what is happening? And this is in first person, right? So I was like, is this one of them? And we don't know, and then you'll understand. Like, when I first read it, I was like, what? So, chapter 8, October. Miraculously, I have a job. It's a freelance gig at an ad agency as a copywriter. My contract is for 3 months, with the option to extend. They call this temp to perm. I love this phrase. Not only is it palindrome adjacent, it's extremely useful. All situations in life fall into one of these categories. For example, the fact you are 37 years old and currently live with your mother in New Jersey. I remind myself as temp, but the shape of your chin is sadly perm. Works in his work, and yeah, that is where I realised, okay, it's not Cleo, it's not Frank, this is someone else. But that chapter 8 is one of the longest chapters in the book, I would probably say, and I'm not going to lie, like, it was getting a bit boring. Like, it was just like weird random stuff, and I was like, this is dragging on. And then once it got to the end, they were going to go to the end of that chapter. So that chapter starts on, oh my days, I've read just 3 pages there. Wow. That chapter starts on page 121, right, and we finish on page 157. So yeah, as it goes on, you hear about her life working in this place, etc. All the little weird silly stuff that she goes on about, and at the end, this is how the chapter ends. And then that's when I was like, okay, let's continue reading. So let's go. It's the day before the office closed for 2 weeks. Frank and I are walking to lunch when the Orthodox Jew approaches us. He asks if we were Jewish. The wrong half, says Frank, but I tell him I am. He smiles and wishes me happy Hanukkah. The wrong half? I keep repeating this phrase in my mind as we walk. I want to tell Frank that there is no wrong half, no halves at all. In fact, that if you were, we'd be busy having ourselves again and again until we got to the little square of us that was good, and then we would all be free to love and be loved. Let's go through the park, says Frank, nudging me in the direction of the gates. I squint into the icy sunlight. The park sparkles with a thin layer of frost. Everything is hard and bright, like I'm looking out from inside a diamond. So you're Jewish, said Frank. You couldn't tell, I said. My mother always wanted me to marry a Jewish girl, he says. I just realised that marriage is the definition of temp to perm, I say. What? Frank says. Temporary to permanent, I say. That's what I am. You're perm, says Frank. You're about as perm as they come. A breeze filled with light and ice circles us. A police officer sitting on a bench and wraps a Sylvie Hersley's kiss. Children scream in ecstasy on a playground out of sight. We stop walking. Frank is looking at me, and I am looking at Frank. This is a place of exquisite beauty and extreme danger. Dun dun dun! So that's when I was like, okay, something's going on. Frank, who is this mysterious woman? We want to know. And I continued reading on, and obviously that unveiled. So I'm going to love yous with and leave yous with a couple of songs. Nicki Minaj featuring Drake with Moment for Life on East End Community Radio. Women are more likely to behave, do what they're told. Andy mumbles something behind him about more drinks. He's almost forgot he was there. He's trying to pretend he wasn't, because after too many his best mate starts making a show of himself. Something he's been doing a lot recently when he's not completely MIA. Greg thinks back to the strange events of last 2 weeks. The phone calls that have gone unanswered, the panic hiding in his voice. When he does finally pick up, does he need to remind Andy what's at stake for him? When Greg turns, he sees Andy swaying on his feet, and it irritates him further. He seems to be one-man mission to self-destruct, and Greg can't figure out why. Or rather, why now? Surely, that should have happened a while back when things were still fresh and raw. Nice place, Andy mumbles. It'll do me, although looks a bit small, eh? Andy laughs nervously, clearly unsure if Greg is joking or not. Sometimes Greg doesn't know if he is either. No matter what he has, he always wants more. It's the way he's been brought up. When you reach the bar, you keep climbing. Why would you stop when you know you can clearly already achieve? Greg slaps Andy across the back. Are you alright, mate? You're looking a bit pale. I am sound just a bit tired. Greg nods, not dropping his eyes from Andy, who tries to look away. The two men allow silence to fall between them. Is Andy another problem that needs to be removed after the wedding? Greg wonders. So that is a little bit of Greg and Andy. Greg. The dissolution between us. A capital fellow. A little image. How my heart warmed towards him when I beheld his black eyes withdraw so suspiciously under their brows as I rode up, and when his fingers sheltered themselves with a jealous resolution still further in his waistcoat as I announced my name. Mr. Heathcliff, I said. A nod was the answer. Mr. Lockwood, your new tenant, sir. I do myself the honour of calling as soon as possible after my arrival to express the hope that I have not inconvenienced you by my perseverance, in solidating the occupation of Thrushcross Grange. He, probably swayed by prudential consideration of the folly of offending a good tenant, relaxed a little in the laconic style of chipping off his pronouns and all auxiliary verbs, and introduced what he supposed would be a subject of interest to me, a disclosure on advantages and disadvantages of my present place of retirement. I found him very intelligent on the topics we touched, and before I went home I was encouraged so far as to volunteer another visit tomorrow. He evidently wished no repetition of my intrusion. I should go, notwithstanding it's astonishing how sociable I feel myself compared with him. And that is the end of the chapter 1 of Wuthering Heights. Interesting. I'm curious, very curious to see what this is all about. I have actually, the only classic that I've read, I've read Little Women, of course. That's one of my favourite books of all time. Anyways, that is the end of the show. I hope you've enjoyed. I am going to be live next Monday with an interview with Paula Johnston, the author of The Groom Must Die, the book we were reading before this. Make sure you tune in. And here is Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush, that was in the movie that Margot Robbie and I can't remember that guy's name, but you know who I'm talking about. Anyways, see you next week. Have a lovely week. Enjoy the weather and stay safe. Always a pleasure, never a chore, and bye for now. Happy reading.